Adrian Pearson and I were reborn at the same time. He came to marry me, full of hope, just like in our previous life. But I refused. Adrian was stunned. Why? He asked. We were happily married for 50 years. I shook my head coldly. I've been called Mrs. Pearson all my life. I want to have my own name now. Adrian couldn't understand, thinking I was just being difficult. Without me, what could you possibly do? You wouldn't even qualify to be a street cleaner. He waited for me to regret my decision. He waited for many years, watching helplessly as I climbed to the top. I became someone he could no longer reach. Ding! This novel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. The day Adrian was appointed as an honorary professor at the university coincided with our 50th wedding anniversary. Our two sons organized a lively celebratory dinner at home. During the meal, a young female journalist interviewed me. Mrs. Pearson, if you had another life, would you still marry Professor Pearson? She was only in her early 20s, full of vitality. Her doe-like eyes swept over the wedding rings on Adrian's and my fingers, filled with longing for love. I understood her meaning. Adrian and I were known as a loving couple, and the media had reported on us several times. We were university classmates, sent-down youth who ended up in the same village, inseparable through 60 years of hardships. I raised 2 children, managed the household, and cared for Adrian's ill mother. Adrian focused on his career, rising from an unknown, impoverished student to a professor at a prestigious university, joining the National Academy of Sciences and earning numerous honorary titles. The husband works outside, the wife manages the home, a textbook marriage model. Everyone thought I was fortunate. My husband had a successful career, and both our sons graduated from top universities with promising jobs and futures. But no one knew that beneath the shiny exterior was a woman's unseen life. I hadn't been happy these years. I opened my mouth to speak, but before I could, Adrian squeezed over with his wine glass, forcefully interrupting. Of course, she's had it too good this lifetime, he said. Our 2 sons chimed in from the side. Mom landing Dad must have taken some serious divine intervention, one said. Granddad always said their family's ancestral graves must have been smoking with all the incense burned. The other added. If there's a next life, Mom definitely can't let Dad get away. Adrian tugged at the corner of his mouth, the wrinkles around his eyes crinkling into an indulgent smile. No escape, he said. Your mom's skills at ensnaring people are formidable. The journalist's eyes lit up, and she let out an exclamation. Professor Pearson, it sounds like Mrs. Pearson was the one who pursued you? Yes, I pursued Adrian. This had been reported in the media. The journalist must have done her research and couldn't possibly not know. Hearing her question, Adrian pursed his lips proudly and repeated the same old spiel he told hundreds of times before. How I took the initiative to bring him meals and do his laundry. When he was ill, I volunteered to do his farm work. This relationship was initiated by me. So Adrian was always on a pedestal, and I had to serve him for life. This was what I deserved. The journalist giggled as she listened, exclaiming, In that era, Mrs. Pearson, you were so brave. The word brave sounded unexpectedly harsh to my ears. From the moment I married Adrian, that word and I parted ways. My mother-in-law was a shrewd and domineering woman. Living together as a large family, our habits of eating, dressing, and daily routines all had to conform to their ways. From the arrangement of furniture to the pillowcases in our bedroom, even the fabric I chose for my clothes and the style I wore, none of it was my own decision. That indigo fabric looks old-fashioned and ugly. Wear the blue one tomorrow, I've left it on your bedside table, she'd say. Why is this lamp on the side table now? It was perfectly fine on the bedside table. I kept knocking it with my hand at night. I was afraid I'd break it. Then be more careful. The lamp is better on the bedside table, it's convenient when you need to get up at night. My mother-in-law would move the lamp back to the bedside table, her narrow eyes squinting as she surveyed the bedroom. She'd even open the wardrobe doors and rearrange the clothes according to her preferences. Your trousers shouldn't be placed above Adrian's. How can a marriage work if the woman overpowers the man? Celine, I'm not criticizing you, but you're really not particular enough about these things. At first, I wasn't used to it. I tried to protest to Adrian, but he'd furrow his brow and look at me in surprise. Mom's only doing what's best for us. Can't you just let it be? Mom's older and knows more about running a household than you do. Just listen to her and it'll be fine. In those days, with traditional mindsets still prevalent, I didn't dare to confront my mother-in-law. So I gave in. For all these years, I've endured my mother-in-law's dominance, Adrian's criticism, our two sons' mischief and squabbles, and my daughter-in-law's defiance. I've given in for a lifetime. In my small world, I've retreated step by step, conceding more and more ground. In the end, I've shrunk into a corner, living as nothing more than an empty shell. They still call this good life. Faced with the young female reporter's longing and admiration in her eyes, I couldn't bear to let her live in this delusional fantasy. No, I don't want to, I said firmly, raising my voice and shaking my head. I don't want to marry Adrian Pearson again. I've been called Mrs. Pearson all my life. If I could live again, I'd like to have my own name. The bustling banquet hall suddenly fell silent. People around us turned to look at me in surprise. The female reporter's eyes widened, clearly not expecting this answer. The smile on Adrian's face froze. He shrugged helplessly and gripped my hand tightly. This old lady, he said. We had a little tiff yesterday, and now she's sulking here. Look at you, acting like this at your age. Everyone burst into laughter, and the atmosphere at the table relaxed again. Our two sons shook their heads and complained. That's just how Mom is, Dad always gives in to her. Mom, couldn't you give Dad a bit of face in front of all these people? The younger son shrugged. Dad spoiled Mom rotten. People praised us, saying how Professor Pearson and his wife were so in love, still bickering like young lovers. Adrian pulled me into the quiet study, closed the door, and his smiling face instantly turned serious. Celine, what do you mean by this? Are you deliberately trying to annoy me? He glanced at the glass door and lowered his voice. Is this about me asking you to make chicken noodle soup for Wendy the other day? Come on, she's married now. There's really nothing between us. Can't you be a bit more generous? Wendy Nelson was Adrian's former student. She had been captivated by her supervisor's vast knowledge and elegant demeanor, and had once pursued Adrian quite passionately. Adrian had been tempted. He went to the cinema with Wendy, ate with her in the cafeteria every day, patiently guided her studies, and even added her name to a research paper he had been preparing for a long time. But that was as far as it went. Adrian knew where to draw the line. Two sons, a wife he had spent most of his life with, a stable family, a respectable job and reputation. He knew which was more important. Seeing that the situation was getting out of hand, he coldly rejected Wendy and even invited her to our home. Watching him enter the kitchen with me, attentively tying my apron, Wendy ran out of our house in tears. She quickly transferred to another university after that, disappearing completely from our lives. Until last year, when Wendy's husband was transferred to Adrian's university. They resumed contact, tacitly agreeing not to mention the past. Wendy and her husband visited our home, and during dinner, the conversation turned to old times. Wendy smiled and said, Mrs. Pearson's chicken noodle soup was delicious. I used to share the professor's lunch sometimes, and I still miss it. That's no problem, Adrian waved his hand. Celine, go make her a bowl of soup. There wasn't any real wrongdoing between them at the time, and our son was still young. Adrian came home and told me about a female student who was pestering him, asking me to help get rid of her. So, I didn't make a fuss about it. But that doesn't mean I'm generous enough to want to cook for her. Adrian reached out and gripped my shoulder. I knew it was about this. In the end, you begged off with a headache and refused to cook. And I didn't say anything to you about it, did I? I don't make a big deal of it, and now you're the one throwing a tantrum. Adrian sighed. Like Charles said, you've really been spoiled by me. You won't even let me save face in front of all these people. A little while later, our younger son also quietly came to the study and complained to me. Mom, it's like the older you get, the more childish you become. There's a time and place for tantrums, you know. How do you expect Dad to face people when you talk like that? In a bit, go out there and smooth things over. Just say. Looking at my son lecturing me so earnestly, I felt a bit dazed. In the blink of an eye, Charles had grown up so much. From that little boy who used to cling to me every moment. He'd grown into a man with his own family and career. He has his own business, his own ideas. He no longer calls me Mummy all the time like he used to. I love Mummy. Mummy is the best mummy in the world. I'm going to buy her all the best things in the world when I grow up. I don't know when it started, but he changed the way he spoke. Mom's just a useless housewife. She has a job? Ha, that's just something the school arranged as a favor to Dad. It's just a sinecure, only working half days. Dad's the really impressive one. Mom raised us well? That's because we have good genes, we're smart, we take after Dad. Dad's the one who works the hardest. Mom just gets to enjoy the benefits. So, Mom's opinions don't matter at all. I felt disappointed and didn't want to humor my son anymore. I'm not throwing a tantrum, I said, raising my voice and repeating each word slowly. If it happens again, I'd rather live alone. Charles looked puzzled. Why? Dad treats you so well. I just said, I want my own name, my own career, I replied. Charles scoffed. Your own career? Mom, what can you do? You can't even make a proper pasta bake without burning it. Adrian shook his head. You're just talking big. Without me, what could you do? Sweep the streets? Father and son exchanged glances, chuckling in unison. Charles patted Adrian's shoulder. They say the older people get, the more childish they become. Look at Mom. Adrian's lips twitched. Indeed, the old lady's losing her marbles. Being a respectable family, they wouldn't argue at a party, so the matter was dropped. By evening, the gathering had ended. Adrian finished his shower and lay in bed reading as usual. After a few pages, he suddenly put down his book. Celine, about what happened today, were you serious? Do you really not want to be with me anymore? I shook my head again. Adrian froze, his eyes flickering slightly. After a moment, he stroked my wrinkled hand with his rough fingers. I know I've made mistakes, he said. But after all these years, you know the kind of person I am, Celine. You've always been the only one that matters to me. That incident was my fault. We're both getting on in years now, can't you let it go? Adrian rarely backed down, only admitting fault in this matter. When he did, I was expected to accept it. Otherwise, I'd be seen as ungrateful. But this time, I didn't want to accommodate him anymore. It's not about that. I just want to live on my own, peacefully. Adrian grew annoyed. What's wrong with me? Am I not good enough? Everyone respects you as Mrs. Pearson when you go out. What more do you want? I don't want to be called Mrs. Pearson. I have a name, I'm Celine Booth. I couldn't help raising my voice. I don't want to be your accessory. Adrian was stunned for a moment, then exclaimed in disbelief. I get it now, you're jealous of me? You see that I've become an honorary professor, and you're envious? As he spoke, he burst into laughter, clutching his stomach. You're just a housewife who cooks at home, and you want to be a professor too? So that's why you've been acting strange all day. All right, enough with the big talk. Don't I know you well enough? You're afraid of even a mouse. Without me, you couldn't achieve anything. Adrian concluded with a laugh. If you had to do it all over again and didn't choose me, you'd certainly suffer greatly. With your intelligence, you can't even manage housework properly. Yet you dream of being a professor? It's only because I dote on you that you can live so comfortably. Don't be ungrateful. I felt indignant. You always say I'm stupid, but have you forgotten that we were university classmates? I was one of the first female university students of our generation. How could I be stupid? Adrian sneered dismissively. You just got lucky, like a blind cat catching a dead mouse. If you hadn't been sent to the countryside as youth after just 1 year, you wouldn't have even gotten your university degree with your half-baked knowledge. Enough, I'm tired of arguing about these useless things. Let's go to sleep. Adrian turned off the light. I was plunged into darkness. He always said I was stupid. I'm from the South, and I'm not good at baking. I can't make a proper Yorkshire pudding, and I always burn the toast. My mother-in-law said that only their family would accept such a foolish daughter-in-law. In any other family with a bad temper, I would have been kicked out long ago. Adrian tried to smooth things over, saying I was a lucky fool. He said it so often that it seemed to become an accepted fact. When our children got into prestigious universities, everyone said they inherited their father's intelligence, and that if they had taken after me, they would have been doomed. I don't understand how I ended up like this. Once upon a time, I was the first girl from our village to go to university. When I received my acceptance letter, I felt like the whole world was at my feet. I was clearly full of pride. How did I become such an ordinary and incompetent housewife? In the darkness, I silently wept. Like countless ordinary nights. I sat for hours, lost in memories of the past and endless regret. Until a faint light appeared in the distance. Dawn was breaking. I should get up and make breakfast. Today, my 2 sons are bringing their children to visit. My grandson loves the Cornish pasties I make. My granddaughter likes my cockaliki soup. My daughter-in-law who studied abroad prefers sandwiches, and Adrian likes pasta bake. Everyone in the family has different tastes, so it will take a while to prepare. I threw back the covers and sat up. A strange yet familiar figure burst through the door. Oh my, what time is it? Adrian was coughing all night. How could you sleep through that? Get up quickly, you need to help with his work in the fields today. The middle-aged woman wore a red floral jacket. Her black hair tied in a bun, her cheeks rosy and full, with long, narrow eyes. She was carrying a wooden tub overflowing with dirty clothes. Wash these clothes while you're at it. I've got a ton of work to do in the fields and I'm too busy. I stared at the face that was both strange and vaguely familiar for a good while. My heart skipping a beat in shock. Mother-in-law? My mother-in-law had passed away over a decade ago. After she left, I finally had a few years of relative peace. How was I seeing her again? I glanced around the room. A rough earthen house, a wooden table with one wobbly leg, and windows covered with grimy newspaper. Was this Nanny Village in the 1970s? Realizing I had been reborn, I sat frozen on the bed, a whirlwind of emotions rushing through me. Seeing I hadn't moved, my mother-in-law came over and gave me a push. What are you gawking at, you silly girl? She snapped. You were always slow on the uptake. I'll never understand what my son saw in you. She impatiently urged me on. Hurry up now. Wash the clothes first, then come find me in the fields. With that, she hurried off. I followed behind her, stumbling out the door in a daze. Just outside, there was a well where several young women with headscarves were crouched, washing clothes. They were chatting loudly as they vigorously beat the laundry with wooden paddles. Is Adrian ill again? Those sent down youth from city, such delicate constitutions. Precious, aren't they? Precious my foot. It's been what, 7 years since they came here? Still not used to it. Poor Celine, that simple girl, having to do his chores again. What's there to pity? With Adrian's looks, he's quite the catch. And educated too. If it weren't for that mother of his being so difficult, I'd have my daughter washing his clothes as well. I stopped in my tracks. 7 years since being sent down? I was 19 when I was sent to the countryside, and 27 when I married Adrian. If it's been 7 years since we were sent down, that means Adrian and I aren't even married yet? Then why is his mother ordering me about like this? I tried to recall the details, but it's been so long that my memory is a bit hazy. Back then, I had just managed to escape my impoverished rural background and get into university. After only a year of study, we found ourselves in extraordinary times. All university students were ordered to halt their studies and support rural development efforts. Adrian and I were assigned to Nanny Village in Yorkshire. Adrian was lucky, this village happened to be his mother's hometown. His father had died early. And when his mother saw that her son was returning to her hometown, She immediately packed her bags and came along. With 3 uncles in the village to look after him, Adrian's life was much easier than that of other sent-down youths. Initially, I had no intention of marrying him. I still wanted to return to my studies. At first, I endured the mockery and cold stares of those around me. Every day, after washing clothes, I would sit by the oil lamp under the stove and read. My mother fought for me daily, arguing with my father and grandmother like a feisty hen, pecking at everyone to protect my impractical dream. The day I received my acceptance letter, she cried tears of joy. She read the letter over and over again, pressing it under a glass pane on the bedside table. I knew my little girl would make something of herself. Getting into university, becoming a city person, eating from the public rice bowl, she'd say. Never having to work in the fields again. No one could have predicted that after all that effort. I'd merely be transplanted from a southern village to a northern one. Still working in the fields, still doing farm work. As the sun rose and set, I'd lift my head from the loamy soil, look at my calloused palms, and suddenly realize that the formulas and poems I once knew by heart had become as hazy as the moon's reflection in water. Life as a university student in the ivory tower began to feel like a distant dream. At that time, we all felt we couldn't go back. Slogans and posters covered every wall, urging us to transform the desolate nanny into a green oasis of the north. How could we return without completing this task? It wasn't something that could be accomplished in a single generation. I began to accept my fate and embrace reality. In the village, I found Adrian the most agreeable, we got along well. So I grew closer to him, tried to please him, and eventually married him as I had hoped. Unexpectedly, just a year into our marriage, the policy suddenly changed. All of us sent-down youths were allowed to return to the cities, with jobs arranged for us. However, with more people than positions available, the first batch of jobs was highly competitive, requiring a queue. Originally, I had a chance too. As luck would have it, I was pregnant at the time. The office worker looked at me with a troubled expression. "Mrs. Pearson, this position is very demanding. You'd be working in the factory every day until midnight," they said. "And you'd often need to climb those high iron scaffolds. In your condition, it's not suitable. Why don't you wait a bit? I'll arrange a less strenuous position for you in the next batch." By the time the next batch came around, my eldest son had just been born. My usually robust mother-in-law suddenly developed severe migraines, unable to tolerate cold water or noise. I had no choice but to care for the baby myself, once again letting the opportunity pass me by. Then came my second son. The 2 boisterous boys drained all my energy, extinguishing any remaining ambition I might have had. By the time the children were old enough for nursery, my mother-in-law suddenly had a stroke. In those days, hiring a nanny was out of the question. You'd be gossiped about to death, called a landlord's wife or a reactionary. I had to care for my mother-in-law myself. For years, my days were filled with buying groceries, cooking meals, doing laundry, fetching medicine, bathing my mother-in-law, picking up the 2 boys from school, supervising their homework, tidying up the chaotic house, washing them, and putting them to bed. By then, it would be midnight. The days repeated mechanically, and when I finally came to my senses, I saw a stranger's face in the mirror. Gray hair, deep wrinkles around the eyes, a face devoid of vitality, with eyes hollow and full of fatigue and numbness. I had suddenly grown old. How did time pass so quickly? It felt like I had done so much, yet at the same time, nothing at all. My pale, empty life had been lived as someone's daughter-in-law, someone's wife, someone's mother, but never as myself. The higher Adrian's position rose, the less I had a name of my own. Everyone called me Mrs. Pearson. What happened to Celine Booth? Celine! Celine! The washboard thumped heavily, beating against the clothes so dirty their original color was indiscernible. Water splashed onto my shoes. Mabel winked at me. "What are you standing there for? Come and help with the laundry. I saw Adrian's mother give you a big pile. Hurry up, or you won't finish in time." Hester, standing nearby, pursed her lips. "She's got some nerve. You're not even married yet, and she's bossing you around like that. Celine, don't take this the wrong way, but you're too nice. You'll have a hard time after you're married. You need to play hard to get, keep your dignity," she added. Another woman nearby snorted with laughter. Almost 30 and still single? What dignity? She should be grateful anyone wants her at all. Never mind laundry, she'd jump at the chance to wash his underpants. I looked at her closely for a moment, then remembered. She was Fred's mother. A few years ago, she had tried to set me up with her son through a matchmaker, but I refused. She'd held a grudge ever since, always looking for opportunities to make snide remarks. I smiled at her. Whoever wants to wash can wash. I've got better things to do. With that, I picked up my hoe and walked past the well. Towards the communal fields to the north, head held high. Fred's mother stood stunned for a moment, then spat viciously. Ha! Who does she think she's fooling? Just wait until Adrian's mother loses her temper. Then she'll be crying. Adrian's mother was working hard in the field, hoe in hand. She looked surprised to see me arrive so early and paused to wipe her brow with her headscarf. Have you finished the laundry already? You didn't rush through it, did you? Did you use the washboard? Those mud stains need a good scrubbing. I'm not trying to criticize you, Celine, but you need to be more careful with your work. Why are you always so careless? The others in the field continued their work but pricked up their ears, looking over with gossipy expressions. Under their watchful eyes, I walked towards the section of the field I was responsible for, hoe in hand. Mrs. Pearson, if you want something done right, do it yourself. From now on, do your own chores. I need to save my energy for improving Nanny Village, not being your family's servant. In those days, no one could argue against the words in the manifesto. When Adrian's mother heard me say this, her face immediately turned bright red. She sputtered you a few times, then slapped her thigh and shouted. Don't you want to marry Adrian anymore? My son is ill, and you're his future daughter-in-law. What's wrong with sharing some of the burden? Don't you dare try to label me. We Pearsons will never accept a lazy wife. Her shouting drew the attention of the villagers, who came over to persuade me. They said she just had a quick temper, and that I should focus on building a good life with Adrian in the future, and not talk back to my mother-in-law. I snorted derisively. Mother-in-law? Adrian and I are just friends. What kind of mother-in-law is she? Since everyone's here, let me make things clear. Adrian and I are just comrades with a revolutionary friendship. I will absolutely not marry him. These words shocked everyone. In the 60s and 70s, although arranged marriages were still common in rural areas, free love was becoming popular, especially in places like construction sites where there were many young people. Everyone knew that Adrian and I were dating. Mrs. Pearson had even found someone to officiate the wedding. She said that after the new year, when farm work was less busy, they would arrange our wedding. Now hearing me deny it outright, everyone felt something was amiss. Some tried to persuade me, saying it was understandable for young couples to have conflicts. But I shouldn't say such things in front of everyone. Adrian was well liked in the village, they said. If I truly drove him away, I would regret it. Mrs. Pearson was furious. I haven't even complained about you, and here you are being picky. My son will be very successful in the future. Plenty of city girls would love to marry him. Who are you to say you won't marry him? We don't even want you as a daughter-in-law. She had always been sharp-tongued, and when angry, she could spout all sorts of nasty words while slapping her thigh. Seeing the commotion, someone had already run off to find Adrian. That's perfect then. You don't want me as a daughter-in-law, and I don't want to marry into your family. Let's not mention anything about Adrian and me again. After I said this, I turned and saw Adrian standing on the field ridge, his young and energetic face wearing that familiar indulgent smile. In the next second, the smile froze on his face. Adrian turned pale and stumbled back a step. Celine, are you still angry with me? Seeing his demeanor, I knew Adrian was also reborn. After 50 years together, we were too familiar with each other. His posture, movements, gaze, and the scholarly air cultivated from a privileged life, untouched by dust. As his students would say, Professor Pearson looked refined, unlike Mrs. Pearson. I saw her haggling at the market the other day, so common. Adrian was far from ordinary in appearance and demeanor. Standing on the field's edge in his green uniform, he looked like a sturdy oak, drawing everyone's gaze. People whispered amongst themselves. Doesn't Adrian seem different from before? I think so too. He looks particularly handsome today. No wonder Celine is so eager. She's not eager at all. Didn't she just say she doesn't want to marry Adrian? She must be bluffing. With Adrian's mother's temperament, Celine will probably have to beg on her knees to get him back later. With her son's arrival, Adrian's mother found her backbone and became even more overbearing. Celine, my Adrian is right here. Do you dare repeat what you said earlier to his face? I had already lowered my head, vigorously swinging my hoe. The hard, icy soil was turned over, and my words, like shards of ice, pierced Adrian's heart. I, Celine Booth, will never marry Adrian Pearson in this lifetime. I didn't look at him again. I only heard Adrian coughing loudly, his mother rushing over to support him. People hurriedly pulled Adrian back to the house. The commotion gradually fading away. I finished my farm work, watching accountant Gilbert record my work points. Gilbert joked with me, "Why did you suddenly stop seeing Adrian? You're not regretting the daily work points, are you?" He flipped through his notebook, remarking that despite Adrian being ill for 10 days this month, his work points were still full. As for me, I only had half, barely enough to eat. A thought struck me. "Mr. Gilbert, work points are only settled at the end of the month. Can the points I gave to Adrian earlier be transferred back to my account?" Gilbert was surprised. "Oh, your conflict is quite serious, isn't it? Are you sure about this?" "Yes, I won't be working for him anymore." Hearing my firm answer, Gilbert hesitated for a moment, then nodded in agreement. "All right, others might fear the Thornton brothers, but I don't. I will make this decision for you. If Adrian's mother disagrees, let her come and argue with me." The Thornton brothers were Adrian's uncles. They were all tall and had some influence in the village. However, people in this era were still quite simple-minded. They might take small advantages but wouldn't make things difficult for others on important matters. Getting a positive answer, I felt a great sense of relief. Being able to eat one's fill was the top priority in this era. Exhausted after a long day, I returned home to find, unsurprisingly, Adrian waiting at my doorstep. He clenched his fists and glanced around warily. It was too crowded to talk earlier. "Celine, shall we go inside?" I nodded. Adrian followed me into the flat, coughing a few times before issuing a familiar command. "Get me a glass of water." I stood still, not moving. Adrian paused for a moment, then chuckled bitterly. "You've been reborn too, haven't you? I knew the moment I saw you earlier. You used to be so sweet when you were younger, not like this. I suppose I've spoiled you. How long are you going to keep this up?" I frowned as I listened. "Adrian, I've told you several times, I'm not being difficult. I want to live my own life. I want to work, I want to continue my academic research. I don't want to be stuck at home having children, raising them, and waiting on your mother. Can't you understand that?" Adrian scoffed, but seeing my displeased expression, he quickly pressed his lips together and raised his hands in surrender. "You've just gotten too used to the good life. Do you think working is so comfortable? That academic research is so easy? You can't even make a proper shepherd's pie. And you forget half the items when I send you shopping. How do you expect to?" I cut Adrian off. "If you're going to keep talking rubbish, you can get out." Adrian sighed. "Why are you being so childish? You're not listening to reason. Fine, if you're so keen on working, go ahead for 2 years. You'll come crying back to me soon enough." I impatiently pushed him towards the door. "I've nothing more to say to you. Please leave, I need to study." Adrian caught my wrist as I pushed him, smiling. "Celine, I'd almost forgotten what you looked like when you were young. Let me have a proper look at you." In the dim light, his eyes sparkled with the same affection as always. My heart suddenly skipped a beat. After so many years of marriage, it would be a lie to say I had no feelings for Adrian. It was these tender moments that helped me endure year after year of a dull marriage. Whenever something upset me, just looking at Adrian's face would dissipate most of my anger. But this was also our biggest difference. When we had conflicts, Adrian would comfort me. I would give in, and life would return to its peaceful state. Adrian, however, never seemed to compromise for me. He would say the most touching words with the gentlest expression. But what he handed over was always a soft knife. Just listen to my mom. Go apologize to her. We must lend this money to my brother. Do it for me, please? Poison wrapped in sugar, a knife adorned with beautiful ribbons. Cutting away my edges and grinding down my self-esteem, one slice at a time. I thought that was love. It took a lifetime to realize it was just a man's means to achieve his goals. As Adrian's face drew closer, I took a deep breath and slapped him hard across the cheek. How dare you? I shouted. Get out! I pushed Adrian out the door and slammed it shut. Adrian was a man with an extremely strong sense of pride. In all our years of marriage, even during arguments, I had never raised my voice at him, let alone laid a hand on him. Now that he had been slapped by me, he was furious and didn't show his face for several days. I enjoyed the peace and quiet. I worked on time every day and read by the oil lamp at night. I went through my university textbooks over and over again. A young mind truly is more efficient. I could memorize everything after just a few reads. I wasn't the fool who couldn't do anything right, as Adrian had claimed. My heart leapt with excitement as I longed more and more for my life back in London. The peace lasted until the end of the month when it was abruptly shattered. Adrian's mother stormed in, fuming with rage. I was huddled by the oil lamp, reading a book. When she snatched it from my hands and scolded, "You heartless woman. You've taken Adrian's work points. What's he supposed to eat? He's been so good to you, and you don't even care about his health. Have you really given up on marrying him?" I hardened my expression. "I've told you many times, I have nothing to do with him. Please don't bother me again." She trembled with anger, her finger nearly poking my nose. "Celine, have you gone mad? Have you thought about Theo and Charles? If you don't marry Adrian, how will you get pregnant next year? How will Theo be reborn?" I was stunned. "You've been reborn too? No wonder." I vaguely remembered that before I married Adrian, his mother was quite polite to me. And didn't boss me around or expect me to work for them as if it were my duty. She nodded furiously. "Yes, I have memories of my past life too. To be honest, I never thought you were good enough. My Adrian is so accomplished. I could have any daughter-in-law I want. It's only for the sake of my 2 grandsons that I agreed to let him marry you again. And now look at you, putting on airs. Turning down a professor like my son, who else do you think you'll marry? I don't want to marry anyone. I want to go back to London and continue working." Having repeated this several times, I was losing patience. Can't Adrian find another wife? Can you please stop bothering me? Seeing my firm attitude, Mrs. Pearson's eyes darted, and her tone softened. "You're still upset about me not taking care of Theo before, aren't you? My migraines weren't fake, you know. If you really want to work, that's fine. Just get married first, have the baby, and this time I'll be in better health to look after them." I pointed towards the door. "If you don't leave now, I'll call for help. I'll see how long you can keep this up." Seeing that I wouldn't budge, she cursed loudly and left in a huff. From that day on, I never did another job for Adrian. I earned my own work points and filled my own stomach. Adrian's mother scolded me a few times, but after being stopped by Adrian, she would only roll her eyes at me and gossip about me with Fred's wife. Adrian, on the other hand, tried to talk to me many times. Faced with my cold demeanor, his reactions changed from initial wry smiles to gradual impatience. "You really don't know when to stop with your temper tantrums. Celine, my patience has limits too. Don't make yourself regret this." I couldn't be bothered to give him even a single word in response. Half a year passed in the blink of an eye. Soon, I received a notice from London. The sent-down youth could finally return to the city. This time, my job opportunity came after Adrian's. Just like in my previous life, he chose an easy job, becoming a teacher at a high school. I could only go to a chemical factory, doing the most difficult and tiring work on the production floor. Adrian frowned deeply. "Mr. Nelson, this isn't appropriate, is it? She's a woman. Why should she work on the production floor with all those strong odors? Can't you find a more comfortable position for her?" Adrian, used to being a professor, still hadn't shaken off his commanding tone. Mr. Nelson, upon hearing this, immediately became displeased. "Oh my, do you think this is your own household, where you decide what job goes to whom? Are you the mayor or the council leader? There are plenty of people queuing up behind you. Take it or leave it." I quickly interjected. "Mr. Nelson, I'm willing to do this job. Don't mind him." Before I could finish speaking, Adrian pulled me out of the office. "Celine, your nonsense should have its limits." Adrian wore a stern face, lecturing me like he used to. "The chemical factory floor is bad for your health. Don't you want to have children in the next few years? Theo is still waiting for us." Again with the pregnancy, again with Theo. I completely lost my patience. "Adrian, are you mad? I've told you, I won't marry you. There's no Theo, no Charles, only myself. Can't you understand plain English?" Adrian flew into a rage. "For a year, I've been patient with you time and time again. I even agreed to you working, but you can't be this selfish. Are you really giving up on having children? What on earth do you want?" "What do I want? I just want to be myself." Looking at the furious Adrian, I only felt a deep sense of helplessness welling up from the bottom of my heart. Adrian always said that a husband's glory and a son's future were my crown. But I knew clearly that they weren't. Those belonged to them. I actually had nothing. From the moment of marriage, I had crumbled into soil, becoming their nutrients. They sucked my blood, occupied all my time and energy, and blossomed into dazzling flowers. Everyone could only see the flowers. Who would care about the pot of soil? Occasionally, someone might praise, "This soil is nurturing." Should I be grateful for that? Originally, I could have been a blooming flower too. Adrian was still ranting in my ear, accusing me of being selfish and heartless. I could only raise my hand. "Don't make me slap you in public." Adrian was stunned into silence at last. I got my desired job assignment. From then on, he would be the well-dressed, respectable teacher. I became a common factory worker, covered in dust and wearing a mask all day in the chemical plant workshop. When Adrian's mother found out, she nearly laughed her head off. I knew it. What could she possibly achieve? She was lucky to be with you in her past life, but she didn't appreciate it. That chemical plant is so tough. Just wait, she won't last 3 months before she comes crying and begging us to take her back. She was wrong. I stayed at the chemical plant for 2 years, working hard while preparing for my postgraduate entrance exams. My university degree was in chemical engineering, and I was diligent and proactive at work, always being named a top performer. After passing the postgraduate exam, the factory decided to fund my further studies. As it happened, Adrian had also been accepted for postgraduate studies at the University of Oxford. We met again on the university campus. Adrian was very surprised. "Celine, what are you doing here? Did you come looking for me? Did you know I was studying here?" Adrian looked me up and down, puffing out his chest proudly. "In my past life, I went to a university far inferior to Oxford. Not just anyone can come here. After my master's, I'm going to stay and teach here. I'll go much further than in my previous life." "What about you? Couldn't handle the factory anymore?" Adrian smirked. "I told you so. Even lasting 2 years is quite impressive for you." Many lush trees grew by the lily pond, forming a green canopy above Adrian's head. The dappled shadows of branches and leaves cast intricate patterns on his handsome brow. Adrian smiled and slowly extended his hand towards me. "I've been waiting for you these past 2 years. If you just admit you were wrong, I'm sure my mom will." The bell rang, and I hurriedly pushed past him. Class is starting. Excuse me. Behind me, I left Adrian with a look of utter shock on his face. Adrian finally accepted reality and acknowledged that I was also a postgraduate student at the University of Oxford during the annual New Student Assembly. As a representative, I went on stage to give a speech. Under the spotlight, for the first time, our roles were reversed. I stood on the stage while he sat below, squinting his eyes. His gaze filled with confusion and disbelief as he looked up at me. After 2 lifetimes, he finally saw me. No longer treating me as an accessory, no longer looking down on me, but as an equal, even with a hint of admiration, looking up at me from below. Adrian was quite emotional. Celine, I think I understand what you've been wanting now. You've always been an ambitious person. I shouldn't have spoken to you like that. When I called you stupid, it was because I liked you deep down. Now, I admit, you're not stupid at all. Your entrance exam scores were much higher than mine. You're brilliant. I acknowledge your intelligence. Is that enough? Isn't this what you've been working so hard for all these years? To prove this point to me? I hugged my books and walked past him. Adrian, you don't understand at all. I didn't do this just to be seen by you. This isn't enough, far from it. I want the whole world to see me. Adrian stood there, stunned. A moment later, his gaze swept towards the spirited young man at the library entrance. And he suddenly realized. You lied to me. I knew it. You came here for Zach Meyer, didn't you? Zach Meyer was 8 years younger than me. In my previous life, he joined the Institute of Chemistry, National Academy of Sciences at a young age, achieving far more than Adrian. When I saw him on the news, I forgot about the tea I was pouring, spilling hot water on Adrian's hand. The Institute of Chemistry, National Academy of Sciences. The highest place a chemistry student could aspire to reach. I was truly envious. Adrian thought I was looking at Zach and became furious. How old are you? Aren't you ashamed, staring at a young man like that? Now, decades of suspicion had been confirmed. Adrian's face turned pale, his lips trembling with anger. You've been thinking about him for so long? You're just, you. Zach was fortunate. During the tumultuous years, he was in secondary school. With classes suspended, he spent his days roaming the streets and having fun. Unlike us, who wasted so many years in the countryside. He was still young when he started his postgraduate studies, in the prime of his youth. We were in the same year, and whenever he saw me, he would always respectfully call me senior. Senior, I've saved you a seat. Are we studying until 9 p.m. again today? Shall I fetch dinner for you? Adrian rushed over and grabbed him by the collar. Celine is my wife, you pretty boy. Don't even think about it. Zach didn't back down, throwing a punch at Adrian's nose. Who are you calling pretty? You're the pretty boy, you nutter. The two of them started brawling. Naturally, they both got a good scolding, but thanks to their sincere apologies, they managed to avoid any formal punishment. Through this incident, Zach learned about my history with Adrian in the countryside. He was quite disdainful of it. What a small-minded man. You should dump that kind of bloke. I treated the whole affair as nothing more than a trivial episode. But Adrian was deeply affected by it, almost to the point of collapse. Originally, I had told him many times that I wasn't interested in him, and didn't want to marry him. He never took it seriously. But when Zach appeared, he suddenly believed it completely. Perhaps in his mind, only another man could defeat a man. Adrian broke down completely, red-eyed as he cornered me at the entrance of the dormitory. Celine, his voice choked with sobs, barely able to speak. 50 years of marriage, tell me, do you really not care about me at all? Weren't we happy together? How could you fall in love with someone else? How is that possible? I'm the professor, I never looked down on you for being stupid or incompetent. Why are you the one abandoning me? His lofty self-esteem was crushed to pieces, unable to bear it. I just looked at him calmly. I'm not stupid, and I'm not incompetent. You think I'm stupid because you, in the name of love, Confine me to areas I'm not good at, forcing me to do things I'm not skilled at. Serving your entire family for 50 years, it was you lot who were happy, not me. Adrian clenched his fists. You weren't happy? All these years, how have I wronged you? I didn't let you starve, did I? I didn't deprive you of food and clothing, did I? How ridiculous. Originally, I could have had my own job. No matter who I married, I wouldn't have starved myself. How could he think that what I already had was his gracious gift? We were clearly on different wavelengths. I couldn't be bothered with Adrian anymore. I returned to my dormitory and went to bed early. My roommate said he had been standing downstairs for half the night and asked me to go talk to him. It's quite windy out there. He might catch a chill. The stronger the wind, the better. It might blow some sense into that stubborn head of his. Eventually, the university security patrol chased Adrian away. The next day, Adrian didn't show up, but his mother did, making a scene. She said he had wasted so many years on me, and now that he was 30. If he didn't get married soon, I would be responsible for ending the Pearson family line. If you want grandchildren, go find someone else, I said coldly. The Pearson family legacy has nothing to do with me. Seeing my cold and firm attitude, she burst into tears. I was wrong about you. I thought you were a nice, simple girl, but you've always looked down on our Adrian. You've got no skills, yet your head's in the clouds. Just you wait and see. Who would marry an old maid like you? Without our Adrian, who would want you? Just as she finished speaking, Zach poked his head in from outside. Celine, fancy going to the cinema with me tonight? Her face froze, her throat making gurgling sounds. She suddenly slapped her thigh. You're that pretty boy. You're a homewrecker, you. Zach snorted coldly. Watch your mouth. I just beat up Adrian yesterday, don't make me do the same to you. I don't have any rules against hitting women. In his younger days, Zach had quite a rebellious air about him. He was half a head taller than Adrian, with his green uniform on. Sleeves rolled up to his shoulders, revealing well-defined muscles. Mrs. Pearson shrank back. Young man, don't let her fool you. She's 30 this year, she's been married before and even has 2 sons. Zach replied, so what? I prefer older women. Mom, stop it, Adrian said, his face ashen as he stumbled in and pulled his mother away. He glanced at me tearfully. Celine, if you want to choose him, I'll step aside. After the mother and son left, I turned to Zach with exasperation. Why did you butt in? Were you deliberately trying to provoke Adrian? Zach lifted his chin. Yes, I wanted to rile him up. I was silent for a moment, feeling I needed to explain. I've never had children. Zach's eyes lit up, his smile gradually widening. I don't care. Celine, I think you. I interrupted him. I think there are some issues with that paper you wrote. I understood what Zach meant. But I didn't have the time or energy to spare for romance right now. Zach lowered his eyes in disappointment. All right, we'll talk about it another time. Half disappointed, half seeking revenge on me, Adrian swiftly married a city girl after that. She came from a good family and was quite pretty. A year passed, and the couple had an adorable son. Adrian seemed to regain some vitality, deliberately showing off by carrying his son in front of me. Celine, when are you and Zach getting married? He asked. By then, I was already pursuing my doctorate at the University of Oxford. Adrian, however, hadn't kept pace with his previous life's trajectory. The city girl had a respectable job and wasn't willing to give up her job for the sake of the child. She continued her regular work schedule, leaving the child entirely in the care of Adrian's mother. Her migraines flared up again, throwing the whole family into chaos. With no one else to look after the baby, Adrian had to juggle work and childcare, naturally leaving him with no spare time for studying. His doctoral studies were put on hold. Adrian didn't seem too concerned. A delay of 2 or 3 years wouldn't matter much, he thought. He had successfully secured a position as a lecturer at Oxford after graduation. A much better starting point than in his previous life. At worst, he figured, he'd just follow the original path again. He could afford to wait. What he didn't realize was how those domestic trifles and daily minutiae could drag one into a whirlpool of chaos. At this moment, he was still gleefully considering himself a winner. "You're not getting any younger, you know," he continued. "You should push him a bit. Wait a few more years, and you might not even be able to have children." I kept my head down, focusing on my notes. "He's gone to pick up a date for the cinema," I replied. "Zach and I aren't involved at all." Adrian was shocked. You're not together?" "But that can't be right." "I heard Zach say that he—" "Yes, I turned him down," I interrupted. "Right now, I'm fully focused on my studies. I don't have time for anything else." Adrian's eyes widened in disbelief. "I don't understand you, Celine. Why on earth would you do that? You're a woman. Don't you want a family, children? Don't you even want a partner? Living without love, won't your life be terribly lonely?" I put down my pen and looked at him intently. "Do women really need love?" I asked. From childhood, all the films, novels, and social atmosphere have been instilling this notion into women. Little girls grow up dreaming of their Prince Charming, while little boys dream of adventures and reaching for the stars. But why? Is love really that important for women? Without love, are women incapable of self-fulfillment, lacking an independent and complete core? Is it impossible for a woman to achieve a peaceful and happy life on her own? I'm married for love. I've loved Adrian all my life, and to be fair, Adrian loved me too. But did I find happiness? His love meant I had to bear his children, manage the household, leave my familiar home for a completely strange one, smooth out my edges, and integrate into his family with a body full of bloody wounds. Compared to most women, I'm considered to be doing well. But I'm still not happy. Only those who benefit from it keep promoting it, making you choose what's advantageous for them. Why should I follow these rules of the game? Adrian was stunned for a moment, then showed his familiar sneer. "If not love, what should women want?" he asked. "Power, status, money, fame. These are what women have lacked for thousands of years." I replied with a sneer of my own. "Forget it, you wouldn't understand anyway. I'm going abroad to study for a few years. We probably won't see each other again after this." I walked far away. Adrian remained frozen in place, still holding our child, his expression dazed. I returned home after completing my studies. And within 2 years, I had solved a challenging technical problem, earning a national award. That same year, I joined the National Academy of Sciences, garnering a slew of international accolades. At that time, I was just in my early 40s, a woman in her prime. Adrian, however, had been worn down to a shadow of his former self. He was exhausted from dealing with his 2 sons, having long since abandoned any notion of further study. Still a lecturer, he frequently made mistakes. The school administration had spoken to him several times, suggesting that if he continued to fail his students, he might be better suited to an administrative role in the office. As he stood there, head bowed after another dressing down, the office suddenly burst into a commotion. The office manager rushed out, eagerly shaking my hand. "Professor Booth! Oh my, didn't we agree on 4 p.m.? I was going to send someone to pick you up from the airport. Why did you come on your own? It's all the same." "I drove here, which was convenient enough," I replied with a polite smile. As I turned, I caught sight of Adrian. His face ashen, shoulders hunched, desperately trying to make himself invisible. "Mr. Pearson is here too." The manager seemed surprised. "Do you know each other?" I nodded. "Yes, we're old acquaintances." The manager grinned. "Is that so? Mr. Pearson, why don't you join us for dinner tonight? We're welcoming Professor Booth. Starting this year, she'll be an honorary professor at our university." Adrian's eyes flickered with shock, his lips trembling slightly as he stared at me, unable to utter a word for a long moment. Finally, he lowered his head in embarrassment. "I'm afraid I can't. I need to pick up my 2 sons from school today. Perhaps another time." Adrian stumbled out of the office. The manager pursed his lips behind his back. He's not up to scratch. A grown man, brought so low by family matters. I hate to say it, but that wife of his. She's actually quite lovely, I interjected. I know her. She's a good person, very ambitious in her work. When a woman is burdened by family, it's seen as natural, a matter of course. But when these trivial matters fall to a man, everyone feels sorry for him and blames his wife. But what fault is it of hers? She's only doing what all men would do. The manager laughed awkwardly, agreeing. Ah, well, if Professor Booth approves, then she must indeed be quite good. On the day I won the Nobel Prize, the university held a grand press conference. I sat on the stage. Adrian and his family sat in the audience. His mother's eyes were full of resentment. What's so great about her? She's old and nobody wants her. Adrian's two sons retorted. Grandma, you've lost it. At her level, what man could be good enough for her? She snorted angrily. What level? I used to make her do the dishes and laundry. She didn't dare make a peep and did exactly as I said. You must be senile. Dad, take Grandma to the hospital for a checkup. She was furious. Is that any way to talk about your grandmother? It's all because of your mother's bad influence. You can't even get into a decent high school, let alone Oxford like my grandson used to. You two don't deserve to be called Charles and Theo, you useless brats. Adrian's wife wasn't going to let that slide. She immediately fired back. How have I been a bad influence? Mom, you can't be so ungrateful. Who took care of you when you had a stroke a few years ago? Have you forgotten all about that? It looked like another argument was about to break out. People in the audience turned to look at them, and security guards started walking in their direction. Adrian's face turned bright red with embarrassment. Stop this racket. Do you know where you are? One more word and you're all out of here. Finally, they quieted down. Adrian looked up at me under the spotlight, tears glistening in his eyes. During the Q&A session, Adrian eagerly stood up and grabbed the microphone. Celine. Professor Booth. I want to ask you. Adrian's gaze swept over his two sons, and with a hint of pride, he asked me. Do you feel your life is complete? Don't you regret not getting married or having children of your own to carry on your legacy? I looked up at the bright red banner hanging above the hall. Warm congratulations to scientist Celine Booth on winning the Nobel Prize. Scientist. Celine Booth. I smiled. You're right, I don't have children of my own. But I have them. I gestured towards the audience. Most of the people here were students in my field. They read my books, studied my papers, attended my lectures. They may not look like me, but they think like me. I may not have children to pass on my genes, but I have students who carry on my ideas. In the long river of time, genes may end. But brilliant civilization endures. My life has been truly fulfilling. Thunderous applause erupted in the hall. It continued for a long time. Extra Chapter 1. I walked out of the hotel arm in arm with my young boyfriend, unexpectedly running into Adrian. Adrian stood stunned for a few seconds, his eyes filled with disbelief. Didn't you say you didn't need love? He asked. I shrugged. Just because I don't have men in my sights doesn't mean I don't have one by my side. Having reached the pinnacle of my career, I've relaxed my tightly wound strings. A bit of leisure is not unreasonable. I'm only human, with worldly physical desires. Don't expect me to be a saint just because I've achieved great success in my career. The path for successful women is already difficult enough, don't forcibly add moral labels. A look of betrayal flashed across Adrian's face. How dare you? You're immoral, you're. Before he could finish, several security guards rushed over nervously. Professor Booth, are you all right? Who is this man? Should we remove him? I nodded coldly. Just an obsessed fan. Adrian was quickly dragged away. His thoughts were utterly ridiculous. When a man reaches the pinnacle of power, becomes king, with countless admirers, no one accuses him of being immoral. Why should it be different for a woman? It's the old societal conditioning of women. The new era must break through this. I look forward to the day when everyone sees this as natural. Extra Chapter 2. While giving a guest lecture at a university, I encountered an extremely enthusiastic student. Her name was Wendy Nelson. She excitedly waved her arms, pushing through the crowd to get in front of me, asking me to sign her notebook. "Professor Booth, you have such an amazing presence," she gushed. "I was completely captivated by your lecture. You spoke so well." Wendy's face was flushed as she boldly joked. "If you were a man, I'd want to marry you." The young girl's eyes sparkled, full of admiration and aspiration. I took her notebook and shook my head with a smile. "Don't marry me," I said. "Become me." The essence of a girl's admiration is also a longing for power and success. But the societal conditioning present from childhood makes them only want to be the person bathed in moonlight. They've never considered that when the light shines on you, people can indeed see you, but when the light moves away, you have nothing. You should become the moon itself. Wendy froze, staring blankly at the name written in her notebook. Celine Booth.